Hi everyone, Eric here from Whose Turn Board Games, and in today's video we're going to be talking about how to set up and play the game Sheriff of Nottingham. This is the second edition that I own. There is a first edition, obviously. I do not have that copy, so if you have that copy, it is going to be the same rules overall, but will be a little bit different. Now, the original game, the base game, is 3 to 5 players. You need at least 3, and you can play up to 5. The second edition, as well as the expansions, do allow for a 6th player. The general idea behind the game is that one of you is the very corrupt Sheriff of Nottingham, as the game implies. The other people are part of the Robin Hood and his merry men, and are trying to get goods into the actual town of Nottingham. Now, the sheriff, being as corrupt as he can either check the merchants' bags that they are bringing into the actual city themselves, or they can let them pass. Letting them pass usually implies that there's some sort of bribe involved, but not always. Now, this game generally takes, I'd say, anywhere from, depending on the number of people, anywhere from an hour to about 2. And it just really kind of depends on how animated you get into the game, and really just how long it takes for the sheriff to make the decision on whose bags go through and whose bags they check. So just keep that in mind, is that it can be quick, it can take a little bit longer, so it is a big variable based on numbers and really how animated you are. With that, we are going to start us off. I am setting this up for a 3-player game just for the fact that I have 3 out. Each player will get a board as well as a bag to go with it. The bag itself is not super high quality, so I highly recommend that you can actually shut these. I would not do so just because we have had a tear in our group's gameplay overall. Not this version, but a different one, so just keep in mind they're not the best quality. Once each player has both the board as well as their particular bag for their color, they then get 50 gold in some denomination. It really doesn't matter, you can make change whenever you want to, but every player will start with 50 gold. Now, depending on the number of players, depends on how big your deck is going to be. So, with 4 or more players, you will play with the entire deck. If you are only playing with 3, you actually take out a set number of cards. And as you can see here, they do show on the bottom itself as to whether or not it's going to be for a 3 or 4 player game. Now, this is because there is an illegal good that is entirely not in the game at all. That is the bread, with playing with 3 players only. So keep that in mind. If you're setting up for a 3-player game, you will not see bread the entire time you're playing. Everything else, if it says 4 or more, if you have 3 players only, get rid of it, set it off to the side, put it back in the box. Everything else will be in play. It will have obviously no indicator. To do a real quick breakdown of all the cards in particular. Obviously, there are different color cards. There's 3 different colors total. There is the blue cards. If you were playing with the first edition, I do believe they are green. And if you're playing with blue ones, that is what's called a legal good. More on that a little bit later. Anything with a red background at all is considered in contraband and is an illegal good. The purple, the royal purple, whatever you want to say this particular color is, this is a royal good. I will get more onto that a little bit later, but it is considered contraband and does show in the top right corner of it as such. Each card will have a value in the top left, which is its value for scoring at the end of the game, as well as a negative value. The negative value is if you do not get it through the actual city itself, you get fined. More on that a little bit later, but just note that every single card value will have that in there. So as you're playing, you're obviously going to shuffle everything together, so do that. Now, as a side note, the actual rulebook itself does recommend that you take out the royal goods entirely for the first time, a couple times you play this game. Honestly, I don't think they really add anything or take anything away from it. So I would say you're free to play from the beginning, but do as you will. If you prefer to have the true experience like the game and developers intended, remove all royal goods for the first time you're through, and then play with them as such. But I would just leave them in there. They're really not that big of a deal. Just wanted to make that little caveat that is in the rulebook, technically. Now, once the cards are shuffled, make sure they are easily accessible for all players. As such here, we usually make 2 piles just to be fair. There is going to be discard piles, but more on that a little bit later. This is the sheriff token. He just looks corrupt as all heck, like just beyond belief. The first one actually is I like the first edition a lot more. My friend has it, but either way, still looks pretty corrupt. You can randomly select who the sheriff is. The box itself does state that it should be whoever has the most money on them at that time. But we really don't find that that's very common nowadays, so we honestly just pick someone at random. So it doesn't really matter. One player is going to be playing as the sheriff. We'll pick red for this particular instant. Now, once you play a player, every single player will get 6 cards to start. 6 is your hand size. You will pretty much have 6 cards with you at all times, so just deal them out randomly. It does not matter how it gets dealt, but the rest of it can go on however you want to. And that's set up for Sheriff. Very simple game to set up overall. The gameplay itself is a little tricky. It definitely is, being a deception game, can be very difficult to play if you're not very good at that, or if you don't really know. But ultimately, it's a lot of fun. We really enjoy this one, as I've said a couple of times now. The game itself is played over the course of full rounds. There are phases in each round. A round will consist of when the sheriff, where it starts. So in this instance, red is the sheriff first. When red has been sheriff 3 times, that is the final round. Every player should get the same number of times as sheriff. If you're playing with 4 or more players, then you will actually get only to be sheriff twice. So just keep that in mind, is that depending on how many players you have, does make it so you get to be sheriff a little bit less often. So just bear that in mind. Now there are a total of 5 phases overall for the entire round. First is market, then it's load merchant bag, then it's declaration phase, then it's inspection phase, and then it's end of round. So again, 5 phases on each turn. Alright, so for the first phase, market phase, sheriff actually chooses which player will get to start. The sheriff themselves will not partake in this particular phase, so just keep that in mind. What's going to happen? Let's say sheriff chose yellow to go first. So yellow is going to take however many cards they like to, up to 5, and they will set them off to the side. So in this instance, I will take 3 cards, I will place them just like so. As a result, they will then take 3 cards, so it should be back up to 6 cards from the draw pile. Once yellow has drawn up to 6 cards, their market phase is over, it then goes to the next player. After that's all done, the sheriff then gets to decide how they like to place the face-up cards in any order they'd like. I'm going to make it so the chickens are right on top. And once all players have discarded their goods and drawn up to the 6 cards, it now goes into the next phase, the load merchant bag. Each merchant will look at their hand, and they will decide how many cards they would like to put into the actual bag itself. They can go anywhere from 1 to 5 cards. 4 cards into the yellow. And then yellow will place it forward. Purple is then going to also put 4 cards in their bag. Once you have loaded up your bag and put it down face down like this, you cannot adjust it. You cannot put cards in, you cannot take cards out. Again, you must have at least 1 card, you can go up to 5 cards. So, just keep that in mind. Once all players have loaded their bags, it then goes into the declaration phase. In the declaration phase, the player to the left of the sheriff, so in this instance yellow, will be the first to declare. What they're declaring is what is in their bag. There are 2 rules for this. The first one is that you must declare a legal good, so you cannot say you have contraband in your bag. And you must declare the correct number. So I had put 4 cards in there, I cannot say I put 3 apples. In case you're wondering, the actual legal goods themselves are on the board. They are, all 4 of them, there's apples, cheese, bread, and chickens. You must declare one of those 4 and again have the same amount. So, I will look at the sheriff and I will kindly say, Honorable Sheriff, I have 4 cheese in my bag. Now, the sheriff itself can actually have some interaction at this point. We usually will kind of jest a little bit, but ultimately we kind of talk with them for a little bit, and then it goes to the next player. The next player will then also declare exactly the same thing, a legal good and the correct number of cards. Purple will say, I have 4 bread in my bag. During this declaration phase, you can actually put bribes out for the sheriff himself, so if yellow is not feeling confident for whatever reason, and he wants to just be very nice, he can give the sheriff 3 gold just to look the other way and not worry about inspecting his bag. Once all players have declared what is in their bag, it then goes on to the inspection phase. The inspection phase is where all of the magic happens in this game. The sheriff, being honorable and not corrupt in any capacity, will decide if these merchants are telling the truth or if they are lying through their teeth and actually deserve to be punished for it. The sheriff can decide in this phase if they're going to check the bag or if they're going to let them pass if they will. This is where you can start bribing the sheriff. You can bribe the sheriff with money, with future favors, with goods from your bag, with goods from your board. You can pretty much bribe them with whatever you want as long as you have that. You cannot say, I will pay you a chicken later on. You must pay it this instant right now. The sheriff cannot make demands. They cannot say, I'm not letting you through unless this happens. They cannot do that. What they can do is say, I will check your bag if you don't give me some stuff, that you can negotiate, by all means. The sheriff themselves will decide when if the bag is going to go through or not. If the bag is going to go through, so if the sheriff does not believe that yellow has got 4 cheese in here, I apologize, I kind of forgot what that was. 4 cheese in here, he can say, that doesn't smell quite enough for 4 cheese to be in there. I'm going to need something to kind of prove the point that you're in there. The merchant can either give the sheriff a bribe, hoping to get his goods through. If he has something in there, he can hold his fort and not pay him anything. He can promise him future favors. He can do whatever he wants to. In this instance, the yellow merchant's going to go, you know what? You're a busy man, Sheriff. You are 100% right. I'm going to give you 5 gold to keep the wheels moving and get me along here. The sheriff can then decide at that particular time, you know what? I think he's getting the contraband through, but $5 is $5. I'm going to take that $5 right now. And he's going to let the merchant go through. Once the sheriff has decided on a bag, he cannot rescind that offer. He cannot go, just kidding, I'm actually going to check your bag. If you take the bribe, you must let the person through. You cannot take the bribe and then also check them. You cannot do that. That being said, future favors are negotiable. You can actually not hold true to them if you don't want to. They are non-binding. The only thing that is binding is that if you agreed to give them merchant goods from your stand or from your actual bag, you must do so now. So in this instance, purple also said they had 4 bread. Sheriff's going, you know what? He had 4 cheese, you have 4 bread. I don't think statistically that's possible, so I'm going to check your bag. And the purple merchant goes, no, I am an honest merchant. I would not check my bag. I'm just trying to get my goods through. They're still going to check his bag. So the sheriff is checking purple. He let yellow through. Inspection phase is now over as all bags have been decided on. The sheriff themselves do not do anything. Obviously, they didn't load any bag up, so they don't have to worry about their own bag. They just check everyone else's. So now what happens is that you open up each bag. So yellow, saying, hey, yep, I had cheese. Oh, I have 2 cheese. Oh, it must have slipped my mind that I only had 2 cheese there. Any contraband must then go face down in the contraband section. All other legal goods must go in their legal goods category, and they actually were sneaking a bread because they wanted a grilled cheese sandwich really bad. So now here, yellow did lie. They got goods that they did not claim through in their bag. Sheriff is looking at purple going, oh yeah, yep, I just made some money. However, purple was telling the truth. I did not stack this deck, it just happened that way. This is pretty awesome though. So, as a result, if the sheriff checks your bag and you were telling the truth, anything that you were telling the truth about, in this case I was saying I had bread and I had bread, it goes to your merchant stand and then the sheriff must pay your fine of an inconvenience fee. It's the exact same thing as a fine as if he was caught you lying. Now, if the sheriff catches you lying and you have contraband or things you did not claim in this particular instance, like yellow did, it immediately goes into the discard pile in whatever order the sheriff desires. The fine is then paid to the sheriff for, again, every single thing that they lied about. So you could say you have 5 cheese but only have 2 and 3 bread. You only pay the fine for the 3 bread. Your 2 cheese will go through. Your bread will get discarded. So just keep that in mind, is that whatever you were saying you had in your bag does get through regardless. Anything you were lying about and get caught on does get discarded. If you were lying and you get through, all contraband must be kept face down and must be kept secret throughout the entire game. Everything else that you had as a legal good gets put up face up. That was the inspection phase. Like I said, a lot of stuff happens in an inspection phase. Each player will get their bag back, regardless of whether or not they was checked. Then we go to the end of round phase. End of round phase, sheriff token gets passed on. The next player actually gets to draw up to 6 cards. They draw up from the draw card. Each player will have 6 cards in their hands, and you start the next round. You go back up to the market, then the merchant loading bag, and so on and so forth, until, again, everybody has, in a 3-player game, had 3 turns being the sheriff, or in a 4 or more player game, 2 turns being the sheriff. Once that happens, the game is immediately in, and you score your final score. For final scoring, the money you have is actually points value, just flat out. Every single dollar you have is 1 point at the end of the game. Every single card you get through, their value is actually in the top left. It is the yellow number. Combine your money and your actual value of your cards you have in your stand, as well as any contraband you have in your place. There are also what's called king and queen for specific goods. Each good has a king and a queen icon on it on the merchant stand. For apples, it's 20 and 10. For cheese and bread, it's 15 and 10. And then for chickens, it's 10 and 5. Whoever has the most apples, including any royal goods, will get 20 gold coins. Whoever has the second most gets 10. In case of a tie, you just chop it down the middle, whatever factor it might be. Same concept with the rest of the goods. The difference is that their value is just a little bit lower. Now, how royal goods work? Every contraband has a value on it. However, not only does a royal good have a contraband value on it, but it also has icons on it. Depending on the number of icons on it, it has that additional number of goods in your market stand. In this instance, it has 2 cheese face up. This means that if you get this royal good through, you technically would have 2 cheese in your stand on top of however many actual cheese you have in your stand. That does come into play when you are choosing the king and queen. Now, ultimately, like I said, it's just whoever has the most gets that many coins, and then ties are split. You just pay directly in money. There is no, hey, remember it all. You get paid flat out whoever has the most. So you always count this up first, and then you'll count your coins, and then you'll count your basically overall total for everything. Whoever has the most points wins. If there is a tie, then whoever has the most legal goods that they brought into the city wins. If there's still a tie, whoever has the most contraband that they snuck into the city wins. If there's still a tie, play again. Like, I hate that there's, like, you can have ties that many times. It makes me mad. And that's Sheriff of Nottingham. It is just a bluffing deception game. It is very quick, very easy to pick up and play. Usually leads to a lot of really animated talks. We really love the inspection phase. We usually get into character and gun. Honorable Sheriff, you're looking fine today, sir. I am a humble merchant. I'm trying to get 4 apples through. My orchards are very plentiful this year. I'd like to get into your city. You just have fun with it, and that makes it so much that brings a level of enjoyment to this game that I think really has stuck with it. So highly recommend, just as like a quick little note, be fun with this. I mean, yeah, you're gonna sound a little silly. Yeah, you might be a little embarrassed. It's just good fun, and it is so fun catching people when they lie, and it is so fun lying to your friends and family. I love this game. It is so great. I digress. Maybe not everybody's like me. I'm a little crazy. What do you think of the game? Leave me a comment down below what you enjoy about it. We have a couple of house rules that I will add now. We have, like I said, instead of just 1 draw deck, we always do 2 typically. And we actually have 2 discard decks. This is because, and we've played a lot of card games, like actual bicycle card games, growing up, and some of them have it where you can draw from the discard. We enjoy drawing from the discard. I know it's not in the rulebook itself, but we have that as a house rule, and we love that because you can actually see, hey, this real good here, I want to pick that up. Everybody's going to see that I picked this particular real good up, but now it's in my hand, and now it makes it so it's that much more valuable and that much harder to get it into the cities. So just keep that in mind. That is a variant that I know some other people play. We enjoy that very much, but you can also just do it where you have just the 1 draw pile. You can only draw from that, and there's just the 1 discard. Just giving you some options, just by the way. Let me know in the comments down below if you have that or if you have other house rules for this game, just because we always want to know how people play this one. We love this one. If you like the video, go ahead and give it a like. If you want to follow us on our board game journey, we kind of do reviews on games and how to play and setups, and get a little animated and have fun with them. So if that's kind of your jelly and jam, consider subscribing. That really help us out. Thank you all for watching. I've been Eric, and until next time, who's starting?